President Donald Trump is willing to shut down the government over his border wall. I'm Nathan Seelove, and this is Factually Biased. In a recent meeting in the Oval Office between Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, Donald Trump said that he was willing to shut down the government if he does not get funding for his border wall. And I think that this is a good opportunity to go ahead and discuss the specifics of the border wall and why it is unnecessary at best and counterproductive at worst. So let's talk about the unnecessary part. So whenever a policy is proposed, it is supposed to address a problem. It is supposed to be the solution to a problem. So the problem that the border wall is trying to address is this idea that there has been an increase in undocumented immigration as well as an increase in crime. Problem is, neither of those are true. So the total number of people that have come to that have crossed the border illegally since the early 2000s has actually been on a steady decline. Now, you can point to specific months in which there was a spike or specific years in which there might have been a little bit of a spike, and you can point to anecdotes, but that does not change the fact that overall, the total number of people crossing the border illegally has decreased since the early 2000s. Now, let's talk about crime. There's this narrative that undocumented immigrants are more likely to commit crimes than natural-born citizens. This is also not true. Undocumented immigrants are actually significantly less likely to commit all crimes than people that are naturally born citizens. Now, you can make the argument that, well, the fact that they are undocumented means that they have already committed a crime, but at the same time, the total number of crimes committed overall is still significantly lower for undocumented immigrants. You can point to anecdotes, you can point to, you can point to whatever you want, but the fact of the matter is, undocumented immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than natural-born citizens. So the problems that are established that the wall is supposed to be a solution for are non-existent, or at least they're overdrawn and they are exaggerated. So let's talk about why the wall itself is counterproductive. So when there is an increase in border security, it has an extremely modest impact on the likelihood of entry to the United States. What it actually has more of an effect on is it causes people that are planning to come to the United States to strategize more. And the strategizing that they do often ends up resulting in more risky methods of entry to the United States, such as the use of coyotes. But at the same time, it does not decrease the likelihood of them actually getting to the United States in any significant manner. It still makes economic sense for them to come to the United States. However, because of the increased risk that is created through an increase in border security, it makes them more likely to stay in the United States once they're here, meaning that there is less circular migration. So a good example of this to point out is the increase in border security that started in 1980. So in the 1980s, the likelihood of going back to their country's origin among undocumented immigrants was 0.48. In 2010, it is 0. So what ends up happening is that an increase in border security does not necessarily prevent people from coming into the United States, but it prevents them from leaving. It makes them less likely to leave, and thus it increases the total population of undocumented immigrants in the United States, which, if you are someone who honestly believes that we need to decrease the number of undocumented immigrants in the United States, then this solution, the building of a wall, an increase of border security, is counterproductive in your goals. And don't let people sucker you into believing in these policies. It's about fear-mongering, and it's not about actually keeping you safe. So, to recap, Trump is willing to shut down the government over a crime wave that does not exist, an immigration wave that does not exist, and is proposing a solution that will increase the number of undocumented immigrants currently in the United States. So, is it worth it? No, absolutely not. Now, in my opinion, we need to create easier pathways for citizenship. I'm not saying that there should be no vetting process to ensure that the people that come to the United States are people that are going to be safe. However, as it stands, undocumented immigrants are safer than naturally born citizens. Point to all the anecdotes you want. That is statistical. So, when Trump is making this argument, it is not based in fact, it is based in fear-mongering, and do not be a sucker for it. Well, that's all I got time for you today. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a like, a share, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Be sure to check out some of the other content, and I will see you next week.